So sourcing, the dark art, the thing that apparently we're supposed to be magicians at. The world has never been so full of data, and we've never been more persuaded to buy more and more of it. Whereas I'm regularly having conversations with the leaders, some of them are in the room today, going, why can't they just pick up the phone? And it's often because they're just spending too much time looking for stuff. So we're going to look at how automation can really help you unpick that and create more speed so you spend less time sourcing and more time placing. Right then, so some of you know who we are, which is lovely because we've worked in the market for a little while. Some of you are current clients. Some of you are, I was about to say lapsed clients. That sounds painful. Maybe it is actually. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. If you're no longer a client, you'll be in pain. But obviously, we'd love to work with all of you on the call today, plus more. We've got a lot of love to share, haven't we, Wayne?
Yep.
So let's move on to the next slide. So evidently, we're here to share the love, share the joy, share the ideas, and also to help as many recruitment clients as we can get our paws on, because we've been doing this for a while. And there are three things that we do. We train recruiters, and we've got lots of lovely, cute ways of doing that to make them more high performers, and that includes newbies and experienced. We are incredibly good at what we call Bullhorn First. We'll talk about that throughout this program today, but basically don't just see us as automation ponies, as much as we're really good at automation, aren't we, Wayne? But the whole goal of all of this, it isn't just turn it on and hope it works. It's let's make some money from it, people. Why are the only people that make money from Bullhorn sometimes the people who've sold you it? So we're a big fan of making sure that you are Bullhorn first, your staff think this is a great place to be. Your candidates and clients want their data on your system because it does them some good as well. So we're really pleased that we can sink our teeth into those three areas of recruiter productivity. Onto the next slide. Now, grab your little phones with your little camera apps. We've got a webinar in a couple of weeks' time for recruitment consultants and resources of any level, and leaders as well, because as much as Wayne's going to talk to you a lot about automation today, automation is one thing, but actually getting your recruiters to actually source from Bullhorn, that's the goal, isn't it? And there's a lot of stats in that I'm going to bring up in a second to tell you why that's so important. As much as it feels like the right thing to do, there's actually some statistical reasons why. And we're going to ask you at the end of this webinar what other webinars you would like to see. What would give you whiplash if you saw it online? I've got to go to that, or damn it, I haven't got time to go to that because I'm far too busy sunning myself in Barbados. Well, obviously they've got Wi-Fi over there as well. So make sure you've signed up to that webinar. And there's a couple of blogs that I think are going to be really important. We had a quick chat with a client this morning, and he says, I need to get my staff, my managers on board with automation. And I said, would you believe you're not the first person to ask me how to do that? Here's one I made earlier. So the pink QR code on the right hand side, zap it with your phone. That will drive you to a blog with 3 ways that you can get your managers and leaders, and they normally are the ones that make or break your business, to buy into automation. So with them, what's in it for me? With them, what's in it for managers? And if you happen to be called Mark or Melinda, rock and roll. Equally as well, we are fixated on ROI and ROE, return on effort, because a lot of recruiters put a lot of effort in, but do they get the return? Maybe not. So there's a blog there dedicated to get you thinking about that as well. As much as you want to make money from the system, are you making money from your time and the effort that you're making? And you will know as well, if your leader's in the room, there are some clients that no matter what effort you put in, you don't get the level of return you should. So it's worth us thinking about that, because as we explore more technology in the coming months and years, and as we try to become more productive as an industry, whilst we're having to theoretically fight off the offensive, which is AI, and I'll come back to that in a second. First time I've said that in a minute. I'm interested in making sure that you are protected and you're putting humans at the forefront. Talking of humans, this little QR code will zap you straight into all of our little 1-minute tips. Wayne, you're going to talk about 3 things. Give us a quick highlight as to what 1, 2, and 3 is all about, and then we'll crack on.
I'm going to talk to you about why you need to clean up your data and some automations that will help you clean up your data. Obviously, we're talking about sourcing, so clean data is important. I want to explain why clean data is really important. We're going to talk about identifying and nurturing and attracting candidates that are already in your database through automation, what you can be doing there. And then we're going to be talking about, well, your sourcing. So you've got jobs. How do you reach out to candidates with those jobs? We're going to talk about how you can drive job applications as well.
Absolutely, because I'm still occasionally wondering why we're advertising so much when our websites on the front page normally say we are specialist in X industry in Y locale. I better advertise. And I'm like, but your websites say that potentially you have a community, but the first thing that a lot of recruiters do will advertise, and LinkedIn and job boards love that. I'm not sure candidates and clients really do. And I'm absolutely convinced that the recruitment industry is not chock full of sadists who love writing job adverts and sifting through really aspirational candidates that haven't got a chance of getting the job. So, and it's getting worse, I think. You know, recruiters are becoming busier and busier, but not necessarily any more effective. And I'm not sure that that's what technology was designed to do. So let's move on. Right then. So I always kind of do a warm up for Wayne. So let's just quickly crack on with some stuff, because one of the things that we really need to do, and yes, we're here to show you some automations that are going to make a difference, but often my clients are saying, yeah, automate is one thing, but getting the business bought into why this automation is so important is absolutely the crucial thing. It's not about having best in class data or even best in class automations. It's about having best in class recruitment consultants that know when and why and what. So that's my purpose, is to put that purpose in there. And then Wayne gets all techie and dazzly with the shiny stuff. I think you guys and gals know what the impact of dirty data is, but do you ever really take the time to think about it without getting a bit stressed? It's normally untrusted. Okay. It normally costs you money. It might feel invisible because it's not like the good old days where you had CVs piled up on your desk like something from Muppet Scrooge Christmas Carol, but it does create, I think, quite psychological impacts on recruitment businesses. It definitely creates a horrible waste of time and money. Even if it doesn't, and I think it does, it creates missed opportunities. That opportunity cost while you're wasting time and money. I've yet to meet a business who's this year not trying to cut costs this year or last year, or maybe have scaled up quite quickly in recent years and needs to contract a little bit and become a bit more efficient. That's okay as well. But I can absolutely guarantee you're losing money and you're losing placements. So this isn't just about saving money. It's about being efficient and making more placements and really digging into the muscle of your sectors rather than reacting to the jobs that come at you. The stats as well really do speak for themselves. I've got mind control over the slides here. I'm loving it. The stats speak for themselves. You place quicker with your own data. That's a lot of speed there, 40 days from 60. I like that stat. That's really good. It's not like 59 days from 60. We probably wouldn't even be bothered running this webinar, but 40 days from 60, that's a good jump in productivity. That might mean less recruitment consultants in your business. That might mean more time. You might want to contract the working week a bit more. It might mean more ski trips. Yes, please. But it definitely means less time sourcing. Very important, and more time for the rest of your recruitment life cycle. Because what I do see in a lot of businesses where we do our Bullhorn first projects, where we really understand business processes, because we're spending a lot of time looking for stuff, the talking to people and generating buy-in and placements, not enough time for that. And then we get backdoor placements, we get dropouts, we get counter offers, we potentially get at-risk and lapsed clients. None of this is good. So we want to help you place more from from your system. And obviously these stats are really important for you to take back to your team and get them to watch this bit of the webinar so they understand that sourcing from Bullhorn first is very important. Beautiful segue. Start thinking about your business. And when you get to the end of this year, if not the end of this month, ask yourself, how far into the Bullhorn first culture are you? Or is your business still Bullhorn when you've got a minute? Have a think about that. Again, there's no perfect system out there, but there are damn good processes. Okay. And using your system to deliver a really watertight, speedy process is what we're all about. So have a think about that and just whack enter again for me, Wayne, to bring that terrible reveal up. When you're sourcing out of Bullhorn, you are literally grabbing more crap to put on your system. So you look at the system, I can't find what I'm looking for. I'll go and find some more, probably put it on the system because it's easy. And then I still can't find, and it just becomes worse. The trust gets even, or the lack of trust gets even worse. It gets dirtier, it gets more unwieldy. So let's not do that. Let's start speeding up. Next slide. So think about the time that you could save with sourcing, where you could plug that time back into the recruitment life cycle. Because ultimately what Wayne wants to show you are some automation that's going to really help you get your data cleaned up so you can start generating more trust in it, so that that muscle memory of I can't find anything turns into, oh, look at that. And then all of a sudden, the weight of the process starts to become a lot lighter. Clients and candidates, you've got more time to keep them happy and learn and fix their issues. And then off we go. And then obviously Mary Poppins turns up with her little birds. Right then, on we go.
So data cleansing, sourcing. People don't source from Bullhorn generally. A lot of the club recruiters that I speak to, not leadership or senior managers, or even the managers, generally recruiters go to external to Bullhorn, not all the time, as I said. But why they do that, and what do leadership and management need to do, and IT departments and you as automators might need to do in order to help improve the data cleansing process and the sourcing process? Well, for starters, we have to start challenging perceptions. Yes, LinkedIn is perceived to be cleaner, but actually the amount of time people update the information against their LinkedIn record is quite rare. You don't always go in and immediately update stuff. So actually Bullhorn and LinkedIn, I'd say they're not as dirty as each other, but Bullhorn could certainly be a lot cleaner, but we have to challenge those perceptions. There's a lot of data in Bullhorn generally. I've got one client, they've got 3.5 million records for about 150 staff. I worked out that's almost 30,000 records per user. We have to start cleansing. We have to start looking at the integrity of the data and figuring out why we've got that much data. How much data do we actually need? Every recruiter I speak to who doesn't source on Bullhorn, the reason for it is generally there's too much noise. It takes too long. So again, removing the noise, removing those fields from the Bullhorn record, the candidate record, filling the header with as much information as possible so a recruiter can look at that header and go, yeah, I understand who that is, what they do, where they're based, etc., etc. That will help speed up the sourcing process. Another issue around this is, Lisa's already mentioned this, 40 days versus 60 days for recruiting. That was from Bullhorn Analytics. They did some analysis. They identified from perm placements, not just not contract placements, but perm placements. If you're engaging people and sourcing candidates from Bullhorn, you're speeding up the process of finding those candidates. And that speeding up process then has a bigger impact further down the line. You send CVs quicker than your competitors. You arrange interviews quicker than potentially your competitors. You make placements quicker, which then makes the client happier, makes the candidate happier as well. So there's a big impact of sourcing externally. Generally, candidates, if you don't record the information in Bullhorn, then as leaders and as managers, you're putting your business at risk, because when people leave, when they go and win the national lottery, or they get headhunted by whoever, then all of that information, all of that experience is disappearing at the door with them, or it's disappearing on their LinkedIn profiles and their LinkedIn recruiter licenses. You want to capture that information in Bullhorn. The benefit to the business is absolutely phenomenal. The more data you've got in that system and the cleaner that data is, the more money you're likely to make further down the line. Somebody came to me recently and said that why do we need to code up data when Boolean searching will do the job just as well? My opinion on Boolean searching is that it's great if you want a broad brushstroke of so many CVs that you want to sift through, whereas coded, structured data that somebody has sat down with a recruiter, a candidate, and gone through their skills, their experience, their seniority, etc., and coded that up, adds a lot more speed to the process. And again, it removes the noise. Yeah, I'm looking for a Java developer that works in the gaming industry. Again, those two fields I could do will give me a select number of candidates. Whereas if I did that within a Boolean search, well, everyone's got Java on their CV, so it doesn't really narrow the search down particularly well. The other big thing as well is that more and more clients that I'm speaking to are starting to see the threat of AI as a means of, our clients are going to be able to do our job to a certain degree. They're going to be able to use AI to, I spoke to a company recently that's an interview AI system. So recruiters don't have to interview and screen the candidates, the bot does that for you. Well, you need to make your CRM system a unique proposition. Yeah, your CRM is going to be very different from your competitors. It's going to be very different from job boards. It's going to be very different from LinkedIn as well. So you have to nurture that database. You have to keep it warm. You have to get rid of the noise of people that no longer work in your industry, et cetera, et cetera. That's what's going to get people really engaged with the candidates on your database. It's going to help them source from your database as well. So another interesting stat I found out literally today, I think it's on this slide. What's the average length of time that somebody is in employment for? Lisa doesn't know this one. This one stat that Lisa does not know. It's 4.1 years, according to Indeed. Yeah, the average length of time that somebody's in a job is 4.1 years. I've got a client that I spoke to a couple of weeks ago. I think we found something like 45 CVs that were added onto their original CRM system back in 1988. And I was like, why are we not getting rid of this? And the director was like, oh, no, we might be able to place those people. Well, if the average length of time is 4.1 years, that's almost 40 years ago, if not more, that data has been on there. It's going to be old. It's going to be irrelevant. So you need to start thinking about cleaning the data that's going to be irrelevant. Anything more than 10 years, why is that potentially on there? So some things that you can do from an automation perspective. Well, you've obviously got candidate outreach campaigns that include surveys. It's one of the things that you can be doing. Yeah, reaching out to candidates, getting through your historic data and keeping it cleansed. Again, anything over 4, 5, 6, 7 years, really look at that data and start cleansing it. You can also use automation to sort of cleanse your data with inferred information. So I do this a lot with clients that have hot lists or tear sheets. I did one for a data scientist based out of Munich, which is a great example, data scientist based out of Munich. Well, we know that the hot list was called Data Scientist Munich. We know the city, we know the country, we know the states that they're based in, we know their job title. For this client, we knew their skill set and we knew their job category or the specialism. So that was 6 bits of information, 5 of which we could update. Can't update countries yet. All of you who haven't submitted a support ticket to Bullhorn saying, why can we not update country? Please go and do that. That will raise it up the list. But the idea there was that we took all of this information and all these empty fields, and then we just built automations that naturally updated that information. Took a good few weeks to go through that, but all of a sudden we had a database that was full of fields that were filled in, and then people could search against them. Absolutely brilliant. The additional benefit of filling in those key search fields, semantic match, really important. If you want to use semantic match, must have job titles, really important, the job title, and then the other fields weight against your search. So it's really important you do that. What else can I tell you here? Yeah, if you're going to do outreach campaigns, some consideration. I'm doing one currently for a client. There's 30,000 candidates in the database. We're doing 1,000 candidates. We're drip feeding 1,000 candidates a day into an outreach campaign. Now, we're doing 1,000 a day because we're averaging about 100 responses of candidates going, yes, I'm interested, please call me. Now, between 10 people, that's 10 candidates a day that they need to reach out to and speak to and screen. And that seems to be about the right. So whatever your automation, your long-term, your response rates are, make sure that your team can manage it, and then you can throttle up or down the number of people entering the automation. So cleansing automations, or just even updating Bullhorn if you don't have automation, get rid of the noise, update the fields, make sure categories and skills, specialities are relevant and no longer not irrelevant anymore, remove any of that noise, and then use automation to sort of infer and update that data as you need. Typical automations that you can do to help cleanse data: candidate welcome, candidate applications. They're natural automations that you should probably have switched on. Anybody who comes in, just get them to check their data. Thanks for your information. Can you please check this information is correct? Identify old dirty data. That goes across all entities: candidate sales, contacts, jobs, placements, etc., etc. The number of placements I find that are still open, or the jobs are open, even though we've got placements, that massively skews your analytics if you use Bullhorn Analytics. You know, I've got one client, they've got 11,000 live jobs amongst 30 of them. I think 10,500 of those were opened more than 12 months ago. So we looked at their analytics. Their pipeline was absolutely huge. They were really happy until we closed a load of jobs. Then they realised actually they haven't got that many jobs to work. So identify old dirty data. It's a really great way of doing it. Update data automations. I've got an example there. A client did an annual automation outreach regarding GDPR, wanted to request whether or not they should still hold their data. One of the suggestions I had was, instead of just asking, why don't we ask if they're actively looking as well? So of 300,000 candidates, we got 26,000 candidates come back within January and say, yes, we're actively looking as well. That's a great way of generating candidates. So next area then is, once you've cleansed the data, you've got it updated, you need to keep it updated. Keeping your data updated is one of the reasons why recruiters don't engage with the data on the database to begin with. That's why they go to job boards, etc., etc. So some examples of what you can do to keep your data updated. Well, updating the status field is really obvious. It's challenging getting that working. Keep your status is really simple. All of those of you who were on the AUG with Bullhorn recently, that the automation user group, make sure I talked about statuses. Once you've got them working and once everyone understands what the statuses are, then your automations can naturally move candidates through different statuses, different relationships that you have. So I think automation status updates are really good. Look at your valuable data. The temptation with the outreach campaigns, which can do everything. Actually, I would start by looking at where you make your most money. What specific categories of candidates, because we're talking about sourcing, add the most value to your business. Now, if you're Java developers in the gaming industry and that's all you do, then every single one of your Java developers in the system should be engaged, it should be updated. All those other people that have other jobs that want to do Java development, well, they're less important. So when you're doing your outreach campaigns, focus on the most valuable data. Where do we make our most placements? What specialisms are we always looking for? Job titles are we always looking for, etc., etc. That also means if you need to work with individual teams, work with those teams, engage those teams. Don't go for the whole business, engage those individual teams, get them on board, and then they will naturally then start seeing the realization, the benefits of what automation is doing for them. Advertised jobs, I'm going to talk to you about in a second. The other key things, well, I don't see this used often enough actually, updating CVs and resumes. There is a feature within automation that means you can request an updated CV and resume, ask for it, send it out on a regular basis. Those people who update their CV through automation, what we tend to do is we have another field called last CV updated. So recruiters can search against that field. It's the one thing they want to do in job boards. They go there and they see when the last time somebody updated their data. Show me everyone, sort by that. Well, if you've got that field in Bullhorn, you're giving your recruiters that same possibility, that same option. Other considerations around this nurturing and managing this candidate data. GDPR and PECR. If you don't know what the difference is, go and look them up. Yeah, but make sure you've got your rules in place. Make sure you're updating that data. Yeah, make sure you're capturing good quality GDPR data and obviously opt in to be able to digitally communicate with people. It's really valuable. It's really important. It de-risks your business and directors. It's your careers and your incarceration could possibly be coming. So de-risk that process. Last updated CV I've mentioned already. So an example, we did an automation we've done a lot of status updates recently. They take time to get set up. The logic that you have to go through and you have to think about all the eventualities, it can be challenging, especially when you've got something like 15 statuses. Try and narrow that down, try and keep them in broad blocks. But the idea here is updating it. The client that I spoke to recently said it's best automation ever. My teams are more focused. We've only got 4 statuses for a candidate. In this case, it was sales contact, but candidate statuses. The idea there is that we're rinsing through those sales contacts, and the engagement would then determine what status that sales contact, that candidate has. It's enabled his team to realize that this is the pool of data that I need to be working and communicating with every single day. The stuff over here is the FOMO stuff that we would like to get round to. Stuff over there, down that other end, the sales, the new business development stuff, that's where automation should be working hard for you. And get automation to be doing the new business development on that data. Get your team and your recruiters focused on the valuable relationships that you currently have. But yeah, best automation ever. I love that. Love that quote. Advertised jobs. I love the advertised job process. It's a tool that you give to your recruiters to encourage them to source from the Bullhorn database first. The reason why you want to source from Bullhorn first, 72% of the time the candidates are already on your database. If you source externally, you're updating those records. Yeah, if we're sourcing from Bullhorn, we reduce the average time to place them or average time to source them from 40 to 60 days. Yeah, there's a huge number of benefits of doing that. The other reason is candidates engage with you because they want to know about your jobs. So why not give your recruiters the easiest tool, which is a couple of clicks, shortlist them, job done. That runs the campaign in the background. Your recruiters get loads of inbound phone calls or inbound messages saying, hey, I'm available, please call me. Yeah, the advertised job process, you haven't got it set up, please get it set up. It's a really, really good way of engaging those candidates. Finally, driving applications, driving engagement. Talked about our advertised jobs just a second ago. I think it's really, really valuable. The other way you can sort of distribute jobs is through semantic match or auto match. And the other thing to be thinking about as well is when I've got my jobs, have I sourced candidates against the job? So there's a way in which you can say, if the job has less than this number of submissions, let the bells and whistles go up, escalate that to the reports to your manager, whatever that escalation process needs to be. Most people want to try and get jobs and candidates shortlisted against jobs within 48 hours. Yeah, if you've not got people shortlisted within 48 hours, either your recruiter's struggling so they can't find them, or two, they're not working the job, which is a real shame. They've picked up the job, but they're trying to keep it for themselves, but they're busy on other things. That means the business is losing opportunities, it's losing money. So it's an opportunity for management to step in and understand what could be done from that job application and that sourcing perspective. Considerations around driving job applications, process and training are critical. We talked about advertised jobs a second ago. A lot of recruiters, not a lot of them, quite a number of them push back and go, oh, I don't want to change my process. It works for me as it currently stands. So understanding it and getting it really clear as to why you want them to use advertised jobs, and then selling the benefits and getting some good use cases is a really good way of getting that involved. The other thing I always say to my clients is, we're not changing your process, we're just giving you another tool. The tool that you should use first, really important, yeah, that you use that first, but it's just another tool in your toolbox, the recruiter toolbox. Semantic match, just be aware, it only works in the UK, USA, Australia, and New Zealand currently. I know Bullhorn are trying to fix that, trying to do some clever things, etc., with semantic match to make it work in Europe and other locations as well. So sourcing, lots of ideas there from an automation perspective. Already talked about advertised jobs already. One thing I'll say about auto match, what I see a lot of is people trying to set up one auto match for all jobs. And what I tend to do is split that down into different jobs with different candidate lists. So go back to my Java developer again. You know, I have any job that comes in that has a category of Java, will only match it to the candidates that have the skill Java. That way, then you're only selecting candidates for that particular job with that particular skill set. May mean you end up having 100, maybe less, automations, depending on what type of jobs you do, but it's really, really valuable. It's a really great way of ensuring that the candidates you're reaching out to and sourcing from are the people that you specifically want to source from. Okay, advanced Bullhorn tip. It's a simple process of being able to use advanced note searching. The advanced note searching feature, if you haven't got it switched on, go and get it switched on, go and take Bullhorn support. I still see some clients that haven't got this switched on. It's a really great way of being able to say, show me all the candidates that have done X or done Y or added a note. So those people that are really into silver medalists, I'd want to say, show me everyone that's had an interview note added within the last X number of days. You could do that next X number of weeks. And that way you can then basically hone in on specific good quality candidates. In this example, we're just looking for people that Matt has pre-screened, yeah, within the last number of days. So it's a great way using advanced note searching to target specific groups of information. Automation steps, you haven't think that's already discussed the reasons why Bullhorn isn't your first port of sourcing. Get the business talking about it. The more you talk about it and the more you discuss it, the more all of a sudden that your business and your recruiters go, oh yeah, why are we not doing that? Yeah, it's really obvious, but the more you talk about it, the more you discuss it, the more ideas people will naturally have. Analyze your data. How old is it? How out of date is it? How many fields are missing? You've got automation. Use the advanced search feature to go and interrogate that data. Present that back to the business. Get them to realize, you've added 100,000 records in the past year, but we've only shortlisted 1,000. Well, that's 99% of the data going onto Bullhorn. That's pointless. That's a huge waste of time and resource. So again, use those stats to educate your business. Come up with your plan, come up with your strategy of what you want your business to work with, Bullhorn, and how you want them to source. Build your automations, do some candidate outreach and candidate cleansing, get feedback. Again, another painful process that I don't see people doing enough is getting feedback and refining the automation. These are not set it and forget it automations. You need to keep on top of them. You need your systems administrator to be engaging with them and proactively managing them. And then obviously promote successes. When you get feedback, like I did with the clients with status updates, promote the successes. Really get the business to understand the benefits of what somebody else has done and the benefit they got from that. It's a really, really important process.
And I think, the thing, if you just go back a slide quickly, Wayne, and we're not overrunning, so don't worry, because we are strapped on until 1:45. I'm a big fan of, rather than asking people what they want to automate and then coming up with a shopping list that you might not actually be able to fulfill on, asking them what gets in the way of a good day, or what prevents them from making the right calls, or what's stopping them from sending out interview confirmations, or it's looking at them, analysing where the barriers to what you need them to do might be, and then removing those barriers with automation. We're not talking about replacing them. We're talking about freeing them up and rehumanizing the process. I think as well, the other thing that we've not really elaborated on, and I do think we need to run a webinar in future weeks, is AI. I'm sorry, but artificial intelligence, there's a lot of news, especially in the last 24 hours on it. Wayne and I have regularly seen the industry be blindsided, it feels like, by technology, as opposed to, and therefore reacting to it, as opposed to going, when and where can I use this to make my business better? When and where can I use this to help my managers? And if you're a leader of the business, being selfish, when and where can I personally use it for my own mental health and well-being? And it's looking at technology and really thinking about the why and the purpose, as well as engaging with your lovely recruiters and resources and saying, what gets in the way? What's preventing you? If we could speed anything up, which part of the life cycle would it be? As opposed to, what do you want to automate? Which, that's a tricky, there's going to be some answers that come at you that you might not be able to facilitate on. So have a think about that. I'm also interested in as well, if you go to the next slide, tell us if you're ready. Are you ready to start doing the stuff that Wayne's talked to you about today? Do you feel you've got enough information? And this is very important. Do you actually have the time to do this? I hope you've got the will to do it, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. But the reality is, nothing changes just by turning up to a webinar. Yeah, apart from maybe your minds, your hearts and minds. Things do change when you put in the time and the effort. Now, obviously, I'm leading you here, because if you don't have the time, we flipping do. So we can do that work for you. If you don't have the skill and you want to learn, we can absolutely fill that skills gap. But if I'm honest, a lot of clients are coming at us at the moment going, I just want to recruit. I just want to grow my business. I kind of want to know roughly how this stuff works and what it's going to do for me. But can you stimulate me into making the right decisions? And then can you unpack it for me and make it work? So that's something for you to think about as well. Just give us some information there on what that looks like for you. And then the next thing I'm really interested in is which webinars are actually going to make a difference in the coming months. Now, ironically, the one that's missing from there is AI. That's a given for obvious reasons. We definitely need to do some work on getting you AI ready. A lot of recruiters are not ready for AI yet. The brains might be, the hearts might be, but the businesses are not. And AI, to a certain degree, I think if it had a voice, it would say, sort your data out, get your processes nailed down, get your humans trained, and then we can do something together. Whereas if you inflict AI on a business where one of those three parts of the triangle isn't quite fully formed, God help us all is probably a polite way of putting it. So just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I actually said to a client the other day, just because you can, i.e. just because the tech exists, doesn't mean you can. You might want to give that some thought and get yourself. Certainly a lot of our clients are coming to us and saying, can you help me get AI ready? And that's what 2025 is for them, is getting the businesses AI ready. So they can use AI as a tool rather than as a defense. And there is a very big difference between the two things. Anyway, pep talk over, let's move on. Okay. Bear in mind, again, we're not just automation ponies. Our bigger picture, our bigger goal is to help with recruiter productivity and business strength and growth and all that lovely stuff. And for obvious reasons, we chose Bullhorn a few years ago because Wayne and I have spent a long time in the industry learning lots of kit. And then one day we had a wake-up call because Bullhorn kept buying everything that we were learning, and we just pretty much threw the towel in. And it felt a bit like if you were into Star Wars, we're in the Millennium Falcon, we were getting sucked into the Death Star. Not that I'm making any analogies between the brands, but I'm glad that we chose Bullhorn because it is a relatively future-proof bit of kit. They're constantly improving it, and certainly what we see some of our clients doing with Bullhorn, the system, and Bullhorn Automation Analytics, it's revolutionary. And if I had a time machine, I'd go back in time. Bear in mind, we have recruitment here. We've got some big fans of recruitment here. It's not just for learners, i.e. brand new recruiters. It's absolutely fantastic for experienced recruiters. And actually, we're getting a lot of really good testimonials from leaders and trainers who are leaning on recruitment here, this learning management system that we've built to really help them drive change through the business, because it can be very lonely being an L&D and a leader, especially maybe when you don't know everything all of the time. You can spread yourself very thinly. We've got a really big fan here as well who loved how we exposed what Bullhorn as a system can actually do if it's configured well and trained extremely well. He's very pleased with how the system works for him now, and he's just gutted that he didn't do it sooner. And then we've got some really good fans in the automation space where we will either do coaching or we'll take the problem away and manage it and manage the environment as well. You know, let us be your buddies, whether we are coaching buddies or building and management buddies of your automation system. Drop us a line. We'd love to have a chat with you about what you're doing right now. And I'm offering everyone on the webinar today, although some of you already booked, a free 30-minute consultation with Wayne, where he actually has a proper, I was about to say lap dance, but if you want to equate it with that, that's okay. But it's virtual, by the way, people. Cameras off. But your own private dance with Wayne, where you can really talk with him about what you're doing with automation or not, and he can give you some ideas about maybe what you're missing or maybe what you could plan in for 2025. So again, I'll be dropping you a line outside of this webinar asking when you would like to do that. Notice the close, and we'll get you booked in for that. Grab it, it's free. Obviously grab the tips from our website. Don't misquote me when I say that. We've got loads of stuff on there. It's all free and it's there to inspire and improve. We will take a note of all of your ideas about the webinars that we've got coming in future months. Keep an eye out, please, for the recording of this and the webinar that we've got in a few weeks' time. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We've got less than a minute left.
Thanks,
on
guys.
time for a change. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.